And Ingrid here as we got another fan fiction discussion. Going over some
Woohoo!
going over some recent stuff like the Gamera Dark Horse comics, the Godzilla comics, and Godzilla '94. Really got our juices flowing of what to do next.
Oh, indeed.
Now, for a recap, we've already set up our own version of Gamera existing. We've brought back Mothra.
Indeed.
So right now we decided let's try and bring in, and we're going to start having more rapid fire. There's going to be one of the in our idea. This will be one of the last time we have a really big couple years gap.
Indeed.
As we decided to bring in, well, we're going to bring in the Cryogs from the Godzilla Rulers of Earth comic, but instead of being aliens, straight on aliens, they're other dimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
And we also plan on bringing Frina, the broom mark from the Gamera comic, except she's still an alien. She's more in, she's more inexperienced. She's kind of full of herself. Feels like, oh, I can handle this, and way in over her head. And instead of just learning jive talk, Ingrid, what was your idea?
She would be very familiar with online meme culture, but not understand how to use it at all. She just assumes that's how normal people talk from reading the internet.
Yep. In fact, I always said the joke is one of the first ones she always gets it and puts it in the wrong context. The only one she gets right is sus. Like, you're being sus.
Yeah. And then
Mickey
would be like, you realize that meme died out like a year ago, right?
What meme? Exactly. Now, she also, when we first meet her, she's meeting up with Asagi, and she looks like a teenager. But when it's later made clear about she's an alien race and find out how old she is, she ends up then changing her body to look like an old woman. Whoops. Mm-hmm. She then soon fights the one in the middle, looks closer to how she was in the Gamera comic. Like a full-grown woman, but not too much.
Mm-hmm.
But she comes in later on. In our first one, we actually would be that the Cryog have a three-step process for conquering a planet. First step, they send the probes, which would wipe out all living life on the planet. Second, they would send Legion
to terraform it and make the atmosphere suitable for them to live in.
And wipe out whatever the creature that the probes created.
Mm-hmm.
The third one would have been the Trilopods, which would wipe out Legion if Legion got out of hand, and wipe out any other threats that might be too dangerous. But that was that's a case of last resort.
Indeed.
Now, the Trilopods would come if needed, but Legion and the probes are both sent at the same time. Legion has a bit of an internal countdown to wait for things to go, but the probes get started right away. Now, why doesn't Monarch find out? Because they're unfortunately dealing with some idiots who are trying to do a new program that feel we should fight back on the monsters. But not in the G-Force way, but more in a, we should be the apex predator. So much like the guys from Godzilla vs. Kong.
Mm-hmm. But it's largely a lot of political theater, really, but it ends up seeing a resource suck regardless.
Exactly, but which unfortunately makes them not be able to realize about the impact from the probes. Monster, on the other hand, knows and goes in to intercept, but unfortunately the probes already developed the bat probes, and and basically attacks Monster, and Monster doesn't get killed. It's going to take a long time before we kill off Monster. I do not want that to be the running gag.
Yeah, no, she's already died in too many movies. Let her have a chance to breathe for once.
But she is wounded. Badly. Mm-hmm. She is bad. I can see one of her wings being torn.
Indeed.
She barely is able to get out of there and crash lands back on Birth Island.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and even the Cosmos are saying, it's a miracle she made it here. She made it back here. Is Monster going to die? No. She just needs to rest. But we should warn the others. You're right. And they're the ones who warn Monarch. But unfortunately, at the same time, one of the probes goes into the hollow Earth. And now, one thing we didn't mention, Kong, in our stuff, we decided he does find other Kongs.
Indeed.
And he feels he's content down there. He's like, I don't need to go back up there. Until one of the bat probes abducts a young Kong. No, it's not Kong's child or anything, just a youngling. And unfortunately, this thing is added into the Griffin. But it pisses Kong off.
Yeah.
He is pissed. And he takes it upon himself, grabs the axe, and goes up on top.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, Godzilla, he knows something is wrong. And he's stomping his way there. Now, of course, some of the humanity thinks that. Now, unfortunately, where the probe land is right in the middle of America. So, unfortunately, Godzilla has to stomp his way from the coastline inland. Which makes everyone be like, what the hell is Godzilla doing?
Yeah.
But that's around this. But fortunately, before a misunderstanding could happen, at least on Monarch and G-Force sides, the Cosmos show up and warn them about the probe. So we have Akane flying in a bunch of Garuda-class ships to try and intercept them. And they send some of their men inside to the caverns. Unfortunately, they're too late. And the Griffin is not just one Griffin. A main Griffin and a bunch of lesser Griffins form and erupt from the mountain. Godzilla roars and the other monsters show up.
Yeah.
And Kong too, who is beyond pissed. It leads into a big monster fight, and every time one of the lesser Griffins die, the big one absorbs as it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
It is just a big slugfest.
Oh, indeed, and I imagine it would be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep, but by the end of it, Kong slices off the head of the main Griffin. And you think, oh, that's it? But no, its body's still moving. So it takes all of the other kaiju to... Now, I should point out, during all this, Godzilla, he's getting trashed by all these Griffins. He is exhausted. So by the end of it all, Godzilla, Gamera, Rodan, and the others all blast the body and take it out. And then Kong slices, takes the head and puts it on a pike. Letting out a big roar. And everyone thinks, okay, threat is over. And they basically like, well, that's our big threat for the next couple of years. Little do they know
that they're gonna be facing something in just the span of a few months.
Exactly. Which leads into our next. Now, Godzilla, he is exhausted. So he's going to go rest. So he's off the board for a while.
Indeed.
Which means now it's Gamera's turn. One of the things we should point out is that Gamera, he operates in the Atlantic, Godzilla in the Pacific. So Godzilla gets the bigger ocean. That is the bigger one, right?
Yeah, the Pacific is much bigger.
Yeah, Godzilla gets the bigger ocean, but Gamera gets the one that connects to the Mediterranean, which is around the place where Atlantis was. So it's fitting.
Yeah.
But eventually, though, Legion awakens and starts doing its thing, and it's gonna play out very similar to Gamera. The second Gamera movie. So basically, and this is when Freena makes her appearance and everything, explains all that, and we also are introduced to the Cryog, especially the leader Ryzon. Yeah, we're just bringing Ryzon in wholesale. And he is a descendant, because here's what we find out. The Atlanteans fought back the Cryogs thousands of years ago.
Indeed.
They're part of the reasons why they made a lot of the creatures, was because, now, back then the Atlanteans were able to, on their own, push back against the Cryog. They didn't need the monsters, but they knew that the Cryog were capable of creating the monsters. So Ryzon is a descendant of one of those failed Cryogs. So he has that against him. So he feels like, I need to regain my family's honor.
Yeah, so even though their plan has typical invasion plan is like already gone off the rails, and there are some people in his forces that are just like, let's cut our losses and move on instead of trying to...
He refuses.
Yeah, he refuses because it's just like, no, my ancestors suffered defeat. I must suffer defeat. I must reclaim this honor for them and myself.
So I'm thinking that's when he activates a side of Legion that makes him more the monstrous, monster. Like originally it was supposed to be just the plants, but the Legion portion was a secondary one. Again, in case you had to deal with the probes going rogue. So he activates that much earlier.
Indeed.
And that leads to Gamera doing that. And then during all this, we also have that when one of the cities gets blown up by Legion, Ayana, the young girl from Iris, her family is killed in the blast.
Yeah.
Now, she wasn't there when it happened, unlike in the movie where she watched her parents get killed. Here, she was out of town.
Indeed, and then she just comes back to finding them dead.
A crater. No, she finds her town a crater.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, the way I see it maybe is she was driving there, or she was being on a bus heading over there. But right as they're coming over the hill, boom!
Yeah.
The bus is tossed back. She gets up and just sees her hometown obliterated.
Indeed.
And she's just like, and I'm thinking she's comatose for a while, but this just sets things up for later.
Indeed.
Now, things then play out very similar to Legion, although I don't know if we should although in this case, it's going to be Gamera and Angirus working together.
Yeah, turtle power!
And the one thing I want to play up is that Gamera has the bigger brain between the two, but Angirus has the more tenacity.
More tenacity, fiercer.
And doesn't know when to quit.
Yeah.
And I can still see there's a time where Gamera could bop him on the head like, bonk!
Mm-hmm.
Like, idiot. Not idiot, but like, you idiot, you're going to get yourself killed kind of I mean.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
And yeah, and then I see that the two are able to deal with Iris, but should we do the mana cannon? Because we know what that will open up later.
Indeed.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, that wouldn't be a bad idea. That would actually open up more story ideas if a lot of the mana has already been taken from the planet.
Indeed.
Should we or should we hold off?
I think we can leave that one an open question.
All right, but either way, they do defeat them, and Ryzon and his batch of Grant are stuck in this dimension.
Indeed.
Their ship got wiped out with Legion.
Indeed.
So now they're stuck there, and they're having to, with a more interdimensional ship, meaning it can't go back into their own dimension, but it can still travel in this one, and Cloak. They're stuck here trying to figure out a plan of what to do.
Yep.
But at the same time, that organization from the last idea, they have actually been able to come up. Turns out they've been secretly working. They just needed the right government funding on making their own kaijus. One of which is a tentacle creature with a spiky top.
Ooh.
Unknown to them, it's already psychically manipulating them.
Oh, yeah.
Virus will come in next. But we don't have time for that one.
Yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed our little ramblings about how we're continuing our version of the Monsterverse, and stay tuned for when we cobble more stuff together.
Exactly. And yeah, sub was Virus and Zigra. And now I think that's safe to bring in more Gamera monsters right now, because he had enough done in ones. I think that's for the best.
Indeed.
But well, I'm making this very clear, we have no interest yet on bringing in Junior or Toto. Not yet.
Uh-huh.
They're too, and Godzilla, he might be on the older side, but he ain't ready for that yet. Plus, how would a Monsterverse Junior work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like Godzilla's already ancient as it is. But he's not immortal. That's the other thing we gotta remember. He's already ancient, but he's not immortal.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I wouldn't like to dabbling on in the future is what caused the war between the Godzilla stars and the Kongs?
Indeed.
Yep. Oh, and that's the other thing. Kong, he got his revenge. He didn't need to deal with Legion, and even if Legion blew up, it wouldn't deal with the Hollow Earth. As far as he thinks.
Uh-huh.
Although I think we have Ryzon make a comment saying the fools in the Hollow Earth, they think they're safe. Eventually, even Legion would make its way down there. But let us save that for last.
Yeah.
I'm saying they had something special planned for the Hollow Earth, but we never got to see what it was.
Indeed.
But yeah, so in other words, the Cryog are going to be the long-term enemies.
Yeah. And who's to say that the folks from higher up in the Cryog command chain aren't going to want to check in on how that's going later on, which could cause a new host of problems.
But lastly, I should also point out is that Frina points out that she came to Earth not to deal with the probe, though. she was able to track some other creature, something of immense, dangerous power heading towards Earth. So she came there ahead of time to warn them. What is it? She doesn't know. She just knows it's incredibly powerful, and it came from a black hole.
Oh,
Now, when we'll get to it, we don't know. But yes, Space Godzilla is coming.
yeah.
And I can already tell you this. How did it get up there? Some of Godzilla's cells got stuck onto a satellite before it was launched. But it ended up in a wormhole, which then sent it into a black hole. So, yeah, I know, a bit contrived, but hey, no more contrived than either Biolante or Mothra's, having some of the G cells on them going out into space.
And usually it's better to use contrivances to set up a conflict rather than resolve it.
Exactly. And besides, it's only as a little bit of contrivance. It's not like No Time to Die, where that whole movie with the contrivance is to kill off Bond.
Yeah! That was an embarrassment.
I liked the movie until the end.
Ah.
All right. Well, we'll see you all in the next one. Take care.
Take care.